Hello there, my name's Vince from My Mate Vince, and in this video today we're going to try to fix up the Sega Saturn that I was working on with no display. So I now have display all the time, but it doesn't play games, yet it plays audio CDs. What is that about? So this is my working Saturn here, and this is the one here that plays audio CDs. And I've just been playing some Amy Winehouse, and I can go to any track on that and it will play perfectly. It spins up nice, it's nice and smooth, there's no noise, there's no nothing. But for some reason when I put a game in, it only wants to play the audio from that game, not the game whatsoever. So first of all, I'm going to show you it working on my one because there's something interesting that happens at the very beginning. I was told about this in my previous video, but I'd also read about it before, and it's to do with the security, to make sure that it is playing a legitimate copy of the game and not a burnt one. Now, if you have a look here, we have Sega Rally, great game, and if you look on the back here, it's going to be hard. Let me just try to angle it right. If you have a look, can you see that basically there is another black band going around? So obviously it's doing all the reading here, but then there's another black band going around, and it actually has writing along the edge of the CD, but it's going to be incredibly hard to see. But let me try to angle it so you can see it. There you go, you can really see the black band there now, and it says produced by or under license from Sega Enterprises. Oh, we've just lost it. But there you go, you've seen it around the edge there. So what should happen when you put a game in? It should basically, the laser should go right to the very end of the game to read that license thing there to make sure it is a legit copy, and then it will play the game. On this one, even when I put the game in, it's not going out to read it. Why is that? Now in this video I will be working on these when they're live. If I put my hand in there now, I will get an electric shock and it could be fatal. Do not copy what you see in these videos. Also, to get it to play, I've had to tape up that little connector there and also the connector there, because obviously that's where it thinks the lid is closed. It's not going to do it open because it would be dangerous. You know, you can't have the thing spinning when it's open. So right, let me show you this. So put it on here. Now what I want you to see is it going, this thing here, the laser will move right the way out to the very edge here to do the reading. And then I'll show you not doing it on this one. So, ready? Watch it come out. There you go. Now it's reading it, look. Can you see the laser's gone right the way to the very edge to make sure that it is a proper game? And sure enough, it's now working. There you go. Right, now let's turn this off, and I'm going to swap it over and show you it on this one here. Let me swap all my leads over. Right, now bear in mind that I already physically pushed this laser right the way out. Let's see what it will do now. I bet it will just go in and not come out again. Turn it on now. Right, it's gone in. So we have a display on the TV. But look at that, it never moved out. It didn't attempt to move out, and that's what's confusing, and it's gone to here now. But yeah, if I was to play one of the songs, then it will play it fine. There you go. Yeah. And if I slow it down here, it will go garbled. Obviously you shouldn't be doing this. There you go. It stops, yeah? So, how weird is that? And well, I'm not going to play this because of copyright, but just believe me, it plays the songs perfectly on all of them. Even when I go to the end of the CD, I can see it moving along. Let me just show you that it does actually move along. So, turn it on, and I'm just going to go to one of the later tracks. So do you reckon somehow when you first will put a game in, it reads the inner bit first to know whether it's a game or not? Because, for example, why didn't it go to the edge of this one here to see if it was a game? It's like it already knows that it's not a game. So whatever's doing the reading, the security, is not working on this one here. And that's what we need to find out. Right, let me go to the furthest track along, which is 11. Right, watch this. And now play. Watch it move out. There you go. See it move out there? And now it's playing. Okay. I'm going to pause that obviously for copyright. So yeah, that's what we need to work out what's going on. Let me just turn this off. I want to see if CDs have something in the middle here. So do you reckon it's reading something in the middle to begin with before? So for example on the game, it reads what's in the middle to say, yes, it's a game. Now let's shove the laser out. I tell you what we'll do, let's plug Amy Winehouse into this one and see if it moves all the way out. If it does, we know regardless then it has to move out on every single thing. And that's the problem. Interesting. Let me swap it over. So turn it on now, let's see if it comes all the way out. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't come out. So there has to be something in the middle here which is telling it to move its way out. Right, okay. Just purely because I was messing with the potentiometer at the back here. There's a little potentiometer, just that little, there's a little orange thing just at the bottom, just down in here. I just want to swap the lasers over one more time just to make sure, because beforehand this was working in here and this wasn't working in here. One message did say that basically this is the wrong board, the wrong laser for this model, but I mean, you know, I don't know. I think that would be unlikely, but I suppose it could happen in the past. Maybe lasers have been swapped around the place. But let's swap them over. I just want to make sure that this is still working after I messed around with that potentiometer. Right, so this is still the good Sega Saturn here, but I put the bad laser assembly in. This time I actually swapped around the ribbon cables as well. They're a bit different because you can see it's kind of bent like that. I'm not sure whether that's actually going to work or not. The ribbon cables do look different. That's a lot longer and the pins seem to be on both sides, but still. Let me just try that. If not, I'll swap over the ribbon cables. Right, let's see, is it going to do anything? No, it's not even turning. So basically the ribbon cable is not happy. Right, I better turn that off in case I do any damage. I just want to try that on this one here. So obviously the ribbon cables are only for certain models. And again, that's not happy there. Right, okay, let me swap ribbon cables. Let me just see what it actually says when it doesn't recognize the disc. Right, it just says checking disc format. Okay, good Saturn, potential bad laser, and the ribbon cable suited for this Saturn. Let's see now what it's going to do. Right, so it spins up. Let's see if it goes across. Remember, I have messed with the potentiometer, but there you go. It's gone across to read it. Look at that, right the way over. So it's not the laser assembly, and look, it's working. I mean, it might be, you know, it might burn out quicker now, or it might last longer, I might have made it weaker, but it's working. So there's definitely something on the board causing this. My slight concern is that what happens if it is a different assembly, you know, an assembly from this motherboard, the laser assembly, that's never going to work on a VA9. Anyway, let's just swap the leads to this one and see what it's doing. And on. So it should be moving out around about now. And it is not. Just goes straight to this checking disc format, and it plays it as a CD, and then it stops. Okay, so I mean, we've proved it's not the assembly there. A lot of people mentioned a solder blob underneath. I'll show you that in a minute. Hopefully I'll remember. It basically travels through to grounds, but that whole line is ground anyway, so it's like taking its ground from both sides. Why the board wasn't designed with that, why they did a solder blob, I don't know, but last time I did it, it didn't make a difference. I'm second guessing myself now, but it didn't make a difference whether I had the solder blob or not. But you know what, I might try that again today, just in case, but I'll show you that it's ground anyway, so it's irrelevant. There was another comment came through that where I repaired the traces, one of the traces to the left hand side of that was black, and really well spotted, it is black. But I've checked for continuity between the chip and the via right the way over this side of the board, and there's continuity there. So even though it's black, there is continuity there. The problem is I can't find out which is the security chip. There is a chip on the board down in the bottom right hand corner, and you swap that chip out to do with the region lock, you know, like Japanese, Europe or America. And also, but there's no corrosion around it. And also there's jumpers on here. Apparently there's different jumpers on, like JP7, JP8, etc. And when I look on the website, it looks like my jumpers are incorrect. But when I look up a VA9 board, then they are jumpered the same as my one, and it's supposed to be a PAL board. So, but I can show you that when I take the board out. So I suppose what we have to do is take the board out and see if we can find anything at all that might be causing this. But I don't think I'm going to be able to fix this one. Well, I just want to show you this. I did have it over on a blue mat, but then I watched a YouTube video, and everyone's always saying it's about tweaking the laser or cleaning the laser. But the thing is, we've swapped them over. But maybe, you see, the motherboard here might be not quite pushing out enough. But anyway, I've tweaked the laser and it didn't make a difference here. But what's interesting is, I think I need to do more research into what the VA motherboard disk drive should be. Because this wire with 5 wires going up, you know where the solder blob was on my previous video? Well, if I go between there's 5 contacts. If I go on the left hand 2 contacts, if I go negative, positive on the very left and then a negative on the one next to that, it's coming up here with 5 volts, but on the working one it's coming up with 9 volts. I mean, that's a hell of a difference. Let me show you. So I'm just going to plug it in the back, obviously keeping my hands well away from the power supply, and I'm going to put this here and here, and I'm going to turn it on, and there you go, 5.3 volts. Yeah, that's with no disking. Right, now let's turn that off. I'm going to get a disc. Hopefully my hands won't get in. My hands are going to get in the way, I think. Let me try it here now. 5.3 volts. So you can see there, 5.3 volts, and then it fails. Turn that off. Now, pull the power. When I go onto this one over here, it is 5.9 volts. So I mean, great if that's the if that's the difference between them. I'm just wondering now, is this laser here working on 9 volts rather than 5 volts, and is that the reason it's not working on my one here, because my board is only outputting 5 volts because it's a different laser? Possibly. Anyway, let me go onto here. This is even more awkward to get to. Let me try to just get it in here. Right, okay, turn it on now. There you go, 9 volts, 9.1 volts. And let's turn it off. Put the game in. Turn it on. Can you see it change there though? We have like varying voltages. Unless of course it's making bad contacts, which is possible. But anyway, the game's working now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what those 2 pins go to, just to see if we can work out what's what. Maybe something is pulling my board down to 5 volts instead of 9 volts, which would be fantastic. I'm now thinking though, like one of the comments said, that the disk drive is the wrong one for the actual Saturn. Now let's find out why this second one here might not be working properly. So second one. Interesting. The second one is to do with the blob. Wait a minute, are these crossed here? No, they're not. The second one is to do with that blob. But hold on a minute, let me get my multimeter. I mean, it was very late at night when I was doing it before. So I'm just sure I did the blob. Right, look, the reason I thought the blob didn't matter is because we know that these bottom pins here are to do with ground, you know, when it comes to the board where the power goes into it, yeah? Because we have 12 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts, ground and ground. And if we were to go to any ground, let me go to the shield here and go to here, you'll listen that short, short, then no short, yeah? So we know that these bottom two are ground. Now look at this. Let's go back to the blob. The blob is connected to ground here. You can see that these are ground because when I go across that same you know, bottom of the pins that is coming up here, or any shield on the board is coming up here. So this is all ground. So this one here is ground, yeah? Now look here. It goes along here. It goes through this these things. You know, these coil sort of ferrite beady type things. And from here, this one goes up around here through this one here, I believe, up to the second one. So it's ground anyway. That's why I thought it wouldn't make a difference. But we should have now. What on earth is going on? So we've got 9 volts on it, and even now with this ground, we've got 5 volts on it. So I've shorted this to ground, haven't I? And we've got 5 volts. Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. What is that about? Anyway, let's unsolder it and see if it jumps up to 9 volts. It just looks so factory. But then I was thinking in the previous video, why would they have it? Why wouldn't they just bridge the board here? You know, why would you even have this? You would have this straight down to ground. Right. I'm sure this isn't going to work, but it might give me 9 volts. Right, okay. So, they're nice now, yeah? Obviously they need to be cleaned with isopropyl alcohol. Let's get the power in and see now if we have 9 volts. Right, okay, again, I don't have to keep saying it. Do not copy what you see in my videos. This is not safe. I've got that balance there. We have mains voltage here. It could short on the board underneath. You know, I've got this here, but it could still short. Also, if I was to touch the bottom of this, that's it. Game over. Yeah, because it's live. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on. Okay, and now I'm going to plug in this. We're still not plugged in. And then I'll plug it in now, and I won't put my hands anywhere near this. The only thing I'm interested in is this thing here, which is, this is low voltage. Right, plugging it in now. Right, so green light is on. Let's see if we have 9 volts there now. I mean, it'd be great if it came to life, but I'm sure I did this before. So, here and here. Whoops, wrong one. .3. I don't understand, but it was going down to ground. It was ground. It was shorting out that first one, wasn't it? So the second one is ground, but it was shorting out to the first one. Let me see if I was to go on to the shield here. 5.3. Okay, right. Unplugging it. But obviously this is still live here. Until the capacitor drains down, that is. Really don't want to have to chase a fault that isn't there. See, if I had another VA9 board, it'd be simple. I'd just go across here, and if it's 5 volts, then I'd be like, oh, I've got the wrong CD drive. But I don't know. I haven't got another one to compare to. But I don't think I'm going to waste too much time on it. I'm just going to go across here just to see if there's anything obvious on this first one. And it might become clear. Maybe there is some failed component or something like that. Now let's get fault finding. Continuity. Here we go. Oh, I made a boo-boo there. Look. Made a big boo-boo. That's the reason. At least it makes sense now. We all make mistakes. It was bridged between here and here, wasn't it? These are ground anyway. The second one's ground. I'm going between here and here. So this is the 5 volt one here, and it should be 9 volts on the other board. And I shorted between, not me, it was already shorted between here and here. So it's supposed to be, so I was correct before. I got a bit confused just now. Right, okay. So do you know what? I'm going to solder that one back up because I'm sure it should be soldered. Makes no difference, it's ground anyway. The second one here is ground. So we're interested in this one here. So it goes from here to here. It goes through the coil and it goes, I would say it's this one. Goes to here. Oh, there we go. Makes complete sense. Right, okay. Remember in the previous video, I was a bit confused because of the different voltages. We know that this is 12 volts, 5 volts and 5 volts, while my other Sega Saturn is 9 volts, 5 volts and 3.3 volts. So that's the reason this is being fed with 5 volts instead of 9 volts, because the power supply is telling it to be fed with that. Interesting. Right, okay. I think I've got the wrong CD drive now. Unless the CD drive's designed to work on 5 volts and 9 volts, which is a possibility. But this is always going to be feeding it with 5 volts, the other one. It can't be right, can it? It can't be right. Why have they made this one? Why did they go to the bother of making the power supply different? It must be that the CD drive as well accepts 5 volts. So basically, the reason it works in the other one is because that CD drive is supposed to be for that one and this one isn't. I'm almost certain of that now. So now I just need to try to work out how I can go about getting the correct disk drive for this, because they all seem to be so different. Right, that's interesting. Leave it with me for a bit. Sorry, I forgot to mention about the jumpers, didn't I, for the different regions. So this is the chip here that I believe you can swap out to do the different regions, because I've seen a YouTube video on it. And or you can swap jumpers down here, and they've labelled them all up. So let me zoom right in. Now, can you see here? Apparently there's a 5 volt rail and a ground rail. I don't know which is the 5 volt, I don't know which is a ground rail. But if you have a look, there's all wires in the middle here. And these are the jumpers. So we have jumper 6, 7, jumper 8, jumper 9, jumper 10, jumper 11, jumper 12, and jumper 13. Yeah. Now, when I looked at other VA9 boards, and if you have a look at my board here, it does say main VA9, made in Japan. When I look at the other PAL ones, VA9, then they are jumping like my one here. So we have jumper 9 and 7 jumpered. You can see that there's 0 ohm resistors. And then we have jumpers 10 and 12 jumpered. But then others are open. Now for other systems you would have to move it. Now I don't know this, but there's things online. If you were to move this one to here, or maybe this one to here, then it would be a Japanese model. If you were to move this one to here and this one to here, then it might become a North American model. Don't obviously do that, I'm just saying it's something like that where you move the jumpers around. What I haven't checked is, just in case, I just want to see that these 0 ohm resistors are actually okay. Yes, 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 and yes. So it's nothing to do with that. Anyway, I'm pretty sure then if I put in the drive, if it was the wrong jumper here, then it probably wouldn't even read audio. Well, maybe it still would read audio. I don't know. I don't know if audio is protected or not. And these little wires here look like they go straight under this chip here. So I presume that they go, I presume it might be some of these legs here, because there's a lot of legs here that don't do anything, but they probably go underneath, maybe to the wires, because these go off in this direction, these go off down here, these look like they go off here, maybe these ones also go into the middle. So I reckon if you took this off, there'd be a load of wires going up to these ones here. Anyway, let me look into this CD drive, the 5 volt one. Right, now I've spoke to Richard and he's going to have a look to see if the boards got mixed up, because he got them in the job lot, so it could have been changed even before his ownership. But if you have a look, the drive that I'm trying to get to work is ENR011A. You can just see it there. Yeah. And that's the same as the other drive as well. Now, this is actually for an earlier motherboard. This one here, this website's amazing. Dragon City. I'm just going to show you up here so you can look at it yourself. WordPress that there. Okay, it's in French, but I've translated it to English. And if I go all the way down, it shows all the versions, and it's really, really thorough. Now, let me go down to where it shows the drives. I mean, this website is amazing. It must have taken the guy ages to put it together. But if you have a look here, so this is a VA1. Remember, mine's VA9. But when I go down, if you look here, this is my board here, ENR011A. And you can see there because it's got a square chip here. Yep. And that is for a VA5 board. This is also, so here we go, so now this is the board that I think I need, ENR013A. So it looks like it's been in loads of different ones from VA7, not loads, but ones from VA7 upwards, and it's this board here, it's different. And if you have a look at the voltages, can you see here, it's 12 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts, while if you look at the older one, the ENR011A, can you see it's 9 volts, 5 volts and 3.3 volts. Yeah, so it must be taking a 9 volt to feed the drive, while on R1 it must be taking one of the 5 volts to feed the drive. But anyway, let's actually go down to what I think my one is. So my one's going to be a PAL one here, so it could be this one here, and it's got this separate little board and this Sanyo one, yeah, or I suppose this is going to be a more common one, and I think that this is the one I need. And if you have a look here, you see VA9, and it says the CD type here is ENR013A. So there might be nothing at all wrong with my board now that I've repaired those traces. Still haven't put solder mask on them. I'm thinking that I just need to find myself an ENR013A. Now, considering loads of people put the emulated, the ODEs, the optical disk drive emulator on them, then these should be in abundance on eBay, but they're not. A few people have them listed, but they're all out of stock. They have the older boards and the newer boards, but not my board. So unless Richard can find me one, I think I'm going to struggle to get this one working, unfortunately, until one comes up on eBay. And then when I put it in, it might just work straight away. Or there still might be problems on the board. But at this moment in time, I think the problem stems from me trying to put 5 volts into a disk drive that's looking for 9 volts. My oh my, I'm having to contain my excitement. So I've spent the last 2 hours looking for this elusive ENR-013A online, and I can't find any of them for sale, which is amazing in this day and age. You think they would be flooded on the market. But I've kind of lost track of what Saturns I've fixed and what I haven't fixed. But there was this one here, and I thought, no, there's no point. This is one that, I know it's a long power board one, so it's not suitable. But then I thought to myself, maybe I should just double check. And look, I've taken the lid off, and look what's here. A short power board and a rectangle chip. Now, I don't know if this is the ENR013A. I wanted to leave it for the camera. But this must be the one I'm thinking because it's so dusty. I think this is the one that I bought from CEX years ago. So I don't think this is one that I fixed. So maybe this might be the ENR013 that's suitable for my board. So now, looking round to see where it says what it is. P605. Yes, it's here. It's here. It is. It is ENR. Oh my word. I've been looking for this for 2 hours and it's been in my house the whole time. Look. Look, 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 look. ENR013A. I think that this is the board that I need in the one I got from Richard. Results. Unbelievable. How lucky am I? How lucky was that? Right, okay, brilliant. I wonder out of curiosity then, is it going to be 5 volts? Well, we know it's 5 volts, but let's just see. Let me get my power lead and let me just see if it is going to be 5 volts on here rather than the 9 volts that was on the other one. So we're going to go here and here. So we're going to be looking at 5 volts. Why have I not got anything? What? Weird. Maybe I'm not on them. There we go, 5 volts. Yes, while the other one was 9 volts on those ones there. So this one is definitely fed with 5 volts, which we knew anyway because we traced it. Fantastic. Okay, come on now. I wonder now, is this drive going to work in Richard's one? If it is, it means we fixed it all in the last episode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the ribbon cable as well from Richard's one, and then we've proved 100%, because otherwise I think some people will say it was the ribbon cable. Interestingly, this is also burnt. So why are they both burnt here? Unless, do you know what? Maybe it's not burning. Could it be oxidation from the rubber here, maybe? On that bit there? Is it kind of seeping across, but it's not touching, is it? No. What's going on there? Why are they both burnt there? I thought the other one was burnt because it meant it was... I thought somebody maybe burnt it when they were trying to do their capacitor replacements. But look, I don't believe this has been tampered with. It's burnt in the same spot. I'm wondering if somehow fumes from the rubber... I know I sound like a weirdo, but I wonder if that's seeped across onto here. It's just really weird how it's burnt in the same spot. Interesting. Right, let's take it out. We've got a strap here. Right, let's put this into Richard's one and see now if it starts reading the games. Right, here goes. I haven't tested this yet. Plug it in. I'm on the correct channel on the TV. I've dusted as well. So to please the... Oh, it's already on. Right, okay, let's turn it on. To please the comments from the previous video. Now, let's put it in. I think it's going to work. Ready? Come on now. Is it going to go to the edge and read? Come to the edge and read. Come on. Yes! It came to the edge and read. Look at that. Look at that. Right to the very, very edge. Come on now. There we go. Yes, result. Do you know what? Yeah, if you're a Sega Saturn Pro, you're going to know to check that instantly. But we got there just by kind of process of elimination and just trying to follow the thing on the board. So I'm really, really happy with this video. Also, it helped because a couple of people did mention it in the comments, but there was loads of things mentioned in the comments, but all those ideas were in my head. So I'm just going to flash up on screen now those people that mentioned about the... Obviously, I don't know when this is going to come live. There might be another 10 people that's mentioned it since then. But at this moment in time, when I last looked, I think there was 2 people that mentioned it. So yeah, massive thank you to them. Well, massive thank you to everyone, because everybody's suggestions are helpful, because sometimes they will lead you in the right path, even if it's even if that's not the actual cause. Look at that, fantastic. So now all I have to do is cover up the trace repair that I did in the previous video. Now I should really be using UV mask on it. It's just that there's quite a lump to do there on both sides of the board. So just for speed, I'm just going to be using some green nail varnish. There's not going to be any heat generated here, so the nail varnish will work absolutely fine to stop those tracks from oxidizing over the coming weeks, months and years. So I'm just fast forwarding through this bit now. Next time you see this, it will be all closed up along with the other Saturns, and then I can show you it finally working with a little bit of gameplay. Right, we're all back together now, and it's working absolutely fine. I've just had a lap or two, and yeah, it's playing fine. There's no glitches on the screen or anything like that. It looks as good as my other Sega Saturns. So this one is back together. This one's still working. This one is the one that I used to drive from. So this is the CEX one, and I need to get one of these. One of them will definitely come up on eBay, because think about it. Everybody that's modding them to put an SD reader in rather than the disk drive, then what are they going to do with it? They're either going to keep it gathering dust on a shelf, or they're going to sell it on eBay for an easy £20 or £25 or something. So one of those will definitely come up. The other option, of course, is to mod it. So yeah, that is it. It just shows you then, if you buy something off eBay, obviously if you've got one working, that situation that I had is never going to happen. But if you buy one off eBay, you don't know what's happened to the console before. Maybe the drive failed, they bought another one from eBay, a different one, thinking, oh, it's a 21 pin connector, it's going to work. But you see here, these are both 21 pin connectors, yet it does not work because it's different voltage. It's 5 volts instead of 9 volts. And then they might just sell it thinking that it's faulty. but it's because they've bought a replacement drive, they might think it's a motherboard problem, but it's not a motherboard problem, it's the fact that they've put a different drive in. So I say that issue there is probably more common than people think, especially when things get swapped around between consoles. So yeah, I've learned quite a bit in this one here today, and I think it's been quite interesting. Let me just show you a tiny bit of gameplay. So considering it's on RF, you can see it looks pretty smooth. As I say, I have ordered an AV cable. And I've also ordered up some games as well. I got a couple of games. I've bought some games from CEX. Because at the moment this is the only Sega Saturn game I've got. There you go, you can see it looks nice and smooth, everything looks fine. To me, it looks completely normal. So yeah, the only thing wrong with this one was corrosion and the fact that it had a different disk drive in it. So yeah, really enjoyed those two videos. If you did too, give them a massive thumbs up. Massive thank you to Richard for sending me this one out, and also thank you to everybody in the comment section that helped me fix this one here with the disk drive problem. So if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all very soon. Thank you so much for watching.